You spent your 30s trying to prove yourself. You spent your 40s trying to hold everything together. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, the meetings, the arguments, the relationships that took more than they gave, the nights you couldn't sleep because your mind wouldn't stop running the same conversation on loop. Somewhere in all of that, you lost something. Not your ambition, not your intelligence, not your capacity to love or to build or to fight for what matters. You lost your peace. And the strange thing is, nobody took it from you all at once. It happened slowly. A compromise here. A silence you kept when you should have spoken. A version of yourself you performed for so long that one day you looked in the mirror and weren't entirely sure who was looking back. But here is what nobody tells you about getting older. Here is what the self-help industry, with its obsession with youth and hustle and relentless optimization, completely misses. After 50, something shifts. Not a decline, not a resignation, not the quiet surrender that the world tries to dress up as wisdom. Something harder, something quieter, something that the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, Cato the Younger, spent their entire lives trying to build from scratch, from the inside out. The person you become after 50, if you do it right, is not softer. They are more precise, more selective, more deliberate. They have stopped spending energy on things that don't deserve it, and that freed up energy doesn't disappear. It concentrates, it deepens, it becomes something that younger people can feel when you walk into a room but cannot name. The Stoics had a word for it. We'll get there. But first, I need to tell you about the pain, because this video doesn't start with power. It starts where you actually are. And if you stay until the end, you will understand exactly what you are becoming and why the most dangerous version of you hasn't arrived yet. It's on its way. Let's be honest about something that most people your age are not allowed to say out loud. Somewhere after 50, you start to feel a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with being tired. It is the exhaustion of having carried things for too long. The weight of other people's expectations, the weight of a version of success you were handed before you were old enough to question whether you actually wanted it. The weight of relationships that survived on your effort alone. The weight of anger, an old anger, some of it decades old, that you never fully processed because there was always something more urgent demanding your attention, and now it sits in your chest, or your jaw, or somewhere behind your eyes at 3 in the morning. And you are tired of being angry, tired of being reactive, tired of letting the same kinds of people, the same kinds of situations, pull the same responses out of you that they have been pulling for 30 years. You want to be different, not passive, not numb, different. The Stoics understood this exhaustion intimately. These were not young men writing philosophy in comfortable libraries. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations on military campaigns, surrounded by death and political betrayal. Seneca wrote his greatest letters while under constant threat from an emperor who would eventually order his execution. Epictetus wrote nothing at all. His words were recorded by a student, because he had spent years as a slave with no guarantee of surviving to old age. These men were not theorizing about difficulty, they were inside it. And what they discovered, what they kept returning to in different words from different circumstances, is that the transformation you are standing at the edge of right now is not an accident of age. It is a choice, a daily, deliberate, demanding choice. To stop spending yourself on things that cannot hold you, to start building something inside yourself that nothing outside can touch. To start building something inside yourself that nothing outside can touch. That is what this video is about. Not a list of habits, not morning routines or journaling prompts. A fundamental shift in who you are, available to you right now if you are willing to look at it honestly. Let's go. 1. The anger you were never supposed to keep. Imagine a man named George. He is 54 years old, and if you met him at a dinner party, you would probably like him immediately. He is warm, he is funny. He asks good questions and actually listens to the answers. He has been married for 26 years, raised 2 kids he is genuinely proud of, and built a contracting business from nothing that now employs 30 people. From the outside, George looks like a man who has it together, but George carries something that nobody at that dinner party would ever see. He carries his father, not the man himself. His father has been dead for 11 years, but the voice, the standard that was never quite met, the memory of a man who expressed love almost exclusively through criticism, who withheld approval like it was a finite resource, who taught George, without ever saying it directly, that worth was something you earned, and that you had to keep earning it every single day, or it would be taken back. George has been earning it for 54 years, and he is exhausted. He snaps at his wife over small things and knows, even as it happens, that the anger is not really about her. He lies awake running through business decisions, second-guessing himself, in a voice that sounds less like his own and more like a man who has been dead for 11 years. He pushes himself past his limits and calls it discipline, but some honest part of him knows the difference between discipline and punishment. He is still trying to satisfy a ghost, and the ghost is never satisfied. Now let's travel to a city in ancient Turkey, Hierapolis, sometime around 50 AD, and let's visit a man who had every reason to carry anger and made a different choice. Epictetus was born into slavery. He had no name of his own at birth. Epictetus simply means acquired in Greek, a word that describes property, not a person. His master was cruel. The physical abuse was real. His freedom was non-existent. And yet the man who emerged from that, the philosopher whose words Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, kept by his side and returned to constantly, was not an angry man. He was something far more formidable. He was a man who had looked at his circumstances honestly and made a surgical distinction that most people never make. He wrote, "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." But it is the deeper implication of that sentence that matters most here. If your disturbance, your anger, your exhaustion, your midnight self-criticism comes not from events but from the opinions you hold about those events, then the anger George carries is not really about his father. It is about a judgment George has accepted as truth, the judgment that he is not enough, that he must keep proving, that the approval of one critical man, even a dead one, is the standard against which his entire life must be measured. Epictetus would not have been gentle about this. He would have said, "You are the one holding the chains. Your master is dead. The prison is inside you, and you have had the key the entire time. That is not cruelty. That is the most liberating thing anyone can say to a person in George's position. Because if the prison is inside you, then so is the exit." George eventually found his way to this understanding, not through a single conversation or a single book, through the slow, uncomfortable work of sitting with himself honestly enough to ask the question he had been avoiding for decades. Whose voice is this? And do I still want to live by it? The answer, when he finally let himself hear it, was quiet and clear. No, not anymore. Here is the first thing that changes after 50 if you let it. You stop carrying anger that was never yours to carry. You examine the voices that have been running in the background of your life, the critical parent, the dismissive boss, the partner who made you feel small, and you do something that requires more courage than most people give it credit for. You decide which voices have earned the right to stay, and you let the rest go, not in a dramatic moment, not in a confrontation or a ceremony, in the quiet daily decision to stop giving them your attention. That is where it begins. 2. The things you stop explaining. Now meet a woman named Patricia. She is 58 years old, a former marketing executive who left corporate life 4 years ago to open a small pottery studio in her hometown in North Carolina. She makes things with her hands. She teaches classes on Saturday mornings. She has never been happier, by any honest measurement, than she is right now. And yet, there is a particular conversation she has been having in various forms with various people for 4 years. Her brother thinks she threw away her career. Her former colleagues either pity her or misunderstand her. At family gatherings, someone always asks when she is going back to the real world, as if the studio, the students, the clay, the particular satisfaction of building something physical with your own hands, is an extended vacation rather than a life. And Patricia has spent 4 years explaining, justifying, contextualizing, providing evidence for a decision that she knows in her bones was right. She is exhausted by the explaining, not because the questions are malicious, most of them aren't, but because she has realized something recently that she cannot unhear. Every explanation she offers is a quiet admission that their framework for evaluating her life has authority over her own. She is asking for permission she does not need, from people who are not living her life. Seneca wrote in one of his letters to his friend Lucilius, letters so honest and so precise that they feel like they were written last week rather than 2,000 years ago. "It is not that I am brave, but that I know which things are worth fighting for." And in another letter, even more directly, "Vindicate tibi." Reclaim yourself for yourself, not for your brother's understanding, not for your former colleagues' approval, not for the people at family gatherings who have confused a conventional path with a meaningful one. For yourself. Marcus Aurelius, who was surrounded by people whose entire professional purpose was to tell him what he wanted to hear, wrote a reminder to himself that cuts through centuries. Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. Self-respect, not reputation, not approval, not the comfortable feeling of being understood by people who haven't done the work of understanding you. Self-respect. Patricia stopped explaining, not rudely, not with a speech or a declaration. She simply stopped. When her brother raised it at Christmas, she smiled and said, "I know it looks different from the outside. I'm good with it." And then she changed the subject. No defense, no evidence, no permission sought. And something shifted, not in her brother, who is working through his own unexamined assumptions about success, but in Patricia. She felt for the first time in 4 years like the decision was fully hers. It had always been fully hers. But she had been renting it out to other people's opinions, asking them to validate it, and receiving their confusion back as a kind of debt she felt obligated to repay. No more. Here is the second thing that changes after 50 if you let it. You stop explaining yourself to people who have not earned the right to the explanation. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is insecurity performing as confidence. This is something quieter. The understanding that your life, the choices you have made, the person you have become, the direction you are moving, does not require a defense. It requires your commitment. Give that commitment everything you are spending on the explanations. Watch what grows. 3. The relationships that finally make sense. Imagine a man named Leonard. He is 62 years old, recently retired from 30 years in public education, 20 of them as a high school principal, and by his own admission, a man who spent most of his adult life surrounded by people while being profoundly, quietly lonely. Not isolated, surrounded. There is a difference that most people don't talk about. Leonard had colleagues he respected and friends he genuinely liked. He had a large extended family that gathered at holidays with noise and warmth, and the particular chaos of people who share history, if not always understanding. He was, by conventional measure, well connected. But Leonard spent decades in rooms full of people and felt, underneath the conversation and the laughter and the performance of belonging, a kind of distance he could never quite close. He was present, but not fully arrived, and it wasn't until his late 50s, after the retirement, after the slowing down, after the removal of the role and the title that had structured his identity for 3 decades, that Leonard finally understood why. He had been managing relationships rather than having them, performing connection rather than risking it, showing up as the version of himself that each particular group expected, the competent administrator, the reliable friend, the steady family member, and leaving the parts of himself that didn't fit those roles quietly at the door. He had been lonely, not because he lacked people, but because the version of himself that most people knew was a carefully edited one. Marcus Aurelius wrote, in a passage that seems almost too personal for a man of his position, "Confine yourself to the present." It sounds simple. It sounds like advice about mindfulness. But in the context of Marcus's life, a man who performed the role of emperor while privately wrestling with grief, self-doubt, and the gap between who he was expected to be and who he actually was, it means something more radical. Be here as you actually are, not as the role demands. Epictetus, whose life gave him no luxury of performance, a slave has no reputation to protect, no career to manage, said something that Leonard eventually found: and could not stop thinking about. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. First say to yourself what you would be, not what your role requires, not what the room expects, not what has been safe and manageable and carefully curated across decades of social navigation. What would you be? Leonard started, slowly and imperfectly, answering that question honestly. He started saying no to gatherings that left him feeling more depleted than connected. He started having conversations that went somewhere real, rather than conversations that circled politely around the surface of things. He lost a few acquaintances in the process, people who had liked the managed version of Leonard, and found the real one harder to read. He did not miss them. What he found instead were fewer relationships, but real ones. Ones where the distance closed, ones where he arrived fully rather than partially. He described it once to his daughter as feeling like he had finally stopped translating. He was just speaking. Here is the third thing that changes after 50 if you let it. You stop managing relationships and start having them. You stop performing connection and start risking it. You let go of the people who only ever knew the edited version, and you invest, with everything you have, in the ones who can hold the real one. Fewer, deeper, realer. That is not loss. That is finally understanding what you were looking for all along. 4. The ambition that finally grows up. Now meet a woman named Diane. She is 56 years old, a physician who spent 25 years chasing a version of success she had designed at 22 and never stopped to question. Chief of department, publications, recognition from people she respected and a few she didn't. A house that communicated the right things to the right people, a life that looked from any reasonable external angle like achievement. And Diane achieved it. All of it. And then sat with it on a Tuesday afternoon, her kids grown, her marriage stable, her career at its peak, and felt something she was not prepared for. Nothing. Not depression, not crisis, not the dramatic existential collapse that would at least have been interesting. Just a quiet, persistent nothing where the satisfaction was supposed to be. She had climbed the mountain she was told to climb and found that the view was not the one she had been promised. This is perhaps the least discussed crisis of midlife, and the Stoics addressed it with a directness that the self-help industry has never quite matched. Seneca wrote, in a letter that reads like it was written specifically for Diane, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And then, more precisely, omnia aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum est. Everything else belongs to others. Time alone is ours." Diane had spent 25 years optimizing for outcomes that other people had defined. Prestige, recognition, the particular form of success that comes with a title and a salary that matched the expectations of the people who shaped your early ambitions. She had been enormously productive, but she had not been sovereign. There is a distinction the Stoics make between two kinds of ambition. There is the ambition that comes from lack, from the need to prove, to accumulate, to be seen, to silence the voice that says you are not enough. This ambition is insatiable by design. It cannot be satisfied because its purpose is not satisfaction. Its purpose is movement. The moment you stop moving, it tells you that you are falling behind. And then there is the ambition that comes from abundance, from a person who knows what they actually value, not what they have been told to value, and directs their energy toward it with complete unself-conscious commitment. This second ambition is what the Stoics called living in accordance with nature. With your actual nature, the specific, particular, irreplaceable configuration of values and capacities that makes you you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, for with what you have to work, with reason and justice, do the work you have at hand." Reason and justice. Not prestige, not recognition, not the approval of people who defined success before you were old enough to define it for yourself. Do the work you have at hand, with what you actually have, as who you actually are. Diane took a sabbatical. She came back to medicine, but differently. She started a small clinic in an underserved part of the city, working with patients who reminded her of why she went to medical school before she forgot why she went to medical school. She earned less, She worked harder in certain ways. She felt, for the first time in years, like she was spending herself on something worthy of the spending. The nothing was replaced by something she struggled to name to people who hadn't experienced it. A quiet, durable sense of rightness. Not happiness in the loud sense. Something older and more reliable than happiness. Meaning. Here is the fourth thing that changes after 50 if you let it. Your ambition stops chasing and starts choosing. You stop building the life that was designed for you before you knew yourself, and you start building the life that fits the person you have actually become. This is not giving up. This is the most sophisticated form of ambition available to a human being. The Stoics called it wisdom. You might just call it finally knowing what you want. 5. The dangerous calm. Finally, there is a man named Vincent. He is 67 years old, and he is the person this entire video has been building toward. Not because his life has been perfect, not because he found some formula in his 50s and executed it flawlessly, but because Vincent is what the earlier principles look like when they have had time to settle into a person. He is a retired civil engineer. He has been divorced once and has been with his current partner for 14 years. He has 2 adult children he is close to, and 1 he is working toward closeness with. He has made money and lost it, and made it again on a smaller scale, and decided the smaller scale is fine. He is not famous, he is not wealthy by the standards of the world he used to inhabit. But there is something about Vincent that people notice when they meet him, even if they cannot always say what it is. He is completely, almost unsettlingly at ease, not checked out, not disengaged, not the ease of a man who has stopped caring, the ease of a man who knows exactly who he is and has stopped requiring the world to confirm it. When someone is rude to him, he does not visibly react, not because he suppresses the reaction, but because the reaction has genuinely shrunk. The provocation reaches for something that is no longer quite there. When someone dismisses his opinion, he does not scramble to reassert himself. He says what he has to say once, clearly, and lets it stand or fall on its own. When someone tries to make him feel small, and people still try, because people always try, he watches it happen with a kind of interested detachment, the way you might watch weather from inside a warm house. He is not performing calm, he is calm. And this is what makes him, in the deepest Stoic sense, dangerous. Because a person who cannot be rattled cannot be controlled. A person who does not need your approval cannot be manipulated by withholding it. A person who has made peace with what they cannot control and takes complete ownership of what they can. That person operates in a register that most people never reach. Marcus Aurelius called this the inner citadel. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But the full implication of that sentence is something that only makes complete sense after you have lived long enough to test it. The inner citadel is not built in a moment of insight. It is not the result of reading the right book or having the right conversation. It is built the way all durable things are built, slowly, with repetition, through the daily, unglamorous practice of returning to yourself every time the world pulls you away. Every time you pause before reacting, you add a stone. Every time you let go of an explanation that no one deserved, you add a stone. Every time you choose depth over breadth in a relationship, you add a stone. Every time your ambition chooses meaning over recognition, you add a stone. And one day, not dramatically, not with any announcement, you realize the structure is solid, not perfect, not finished. Structures like this are never finished, but solid enough that the winds that used to move you, the criticism, the comparison, the provocations, the accumulated weight of other people's expectations, are just wind now. They pass through, they do not stay. Seneca wrote in the final years of his life, with Nero's threat growing darker by the day, "Nusquam est qui ubique est." He who is everywhere is nowhere. The person who is available to every demand, reactive to every provocation, shaped by every opinion, that person is scattered, diffuse, nowhere in particular. The person who has found their center, who has, over years of honest work, built something inside themselves that does not require external confirmation, that person is somewhere, specifically, deliberately, powerfully somewhere. That is Vincent. That is what after 50 can look like if you do the work. That is dangerous, not to others, not in any aggressive sense. Dangerous to the forces that have been trying to shape you, diminish you, distract you, and define you since before you were old enough to push back. You are no longer available to be shaped. You are no longer reachable by diminishment. You are no longer distracted by what is not yours. And you have finally, after all these years, begun the work of defining yourself, on your own terms, in your own time, with the full authority of a person who has earned the right to know their own mind. We started in pain, the exhaustion of carrying things that were never yours, the loneliness of performing connection instead of having it, the quiet nothing that waits at the top of mountains other people told you to climb, the anger that belongs to voices that should have lost their authority decades ago. That is where we started. And we walked through 5 transformations, 5 things that change after 50 if you let them, if you do the work, if you choose, daily and deliberately, to build the person the title of this video promises. You stop carrying anger that was never yours. You examine the voices. You decide which ones have earned the right to stay. You stop explaining yourself to people who haven't earned the right to the explanation. You reclaim yourself, not for their understanding but for your own. You stop managing relationships and start having them. Fewer, deeper, real ones where you arrive fully rather than partially. Your ambition stops chasing and starts choosing. You stop building the life that was designed for you and start building the one that fits who you have actually become. And then, if you stay with it long enough, the citadel is built. The calm arrives, not the calm of someone who has given up, the calm of someone who has finally fully arrived at themselves. That is what dangerous means. Not loud, not aggressive, not the performance of strength that people put on when they are afraid of being seen as weak. The real thing. The version of you that has burned away everything that wasn't essential, the need for approval, the compulsion to explain, the anger that belonged to other people's wounds, the ambition that was never really yours, and what remains is something clear and hard, and entirely, unmistakably your own. Marcus Aurelius wrote, near the end of his meditations, in words that feel less like philosophy and more like a man talking to himself across time, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. You have spent enough time arguing, enough time performing, enough time carrying what was never yours and explaining yourself to people who were never really listening and chasing mountains other people pointed you toward. You are 50, or past it, or approaching it. And that is not a decline, that is an arrival. The most dangerous version of you, grounded, clear, unshakable, completely and finally yourself, is not behind you. It is what you are in the process of becoming, right now, with every honest choice, with everything you put down that was never yours to carry, with every morning you wake up and decide, quietly and without drama, to be the person you have spent a lifetime earning the right to be. That person is coming. They are already here. Take care of your mind. The world will take care of itself. Until next time. Till next.